Good morning. We're on our way on business finance. It's time to work a little bit on project number one. And today we're just going to go over the starting point, it's called, which if you've messed around and looked at the template, you would have an idea. It's really just the first, after the instructions, it's the first worksheet that's on there. And let me show you. So our D2L homepage looks like this. And if we scroll down a little bit, right here we got project one Excel templates and it's this one right here, copy of financial projections template, that I need you to open. Click on that and open. I've already opened it down here, but if you click on that, and it'll give you an option to open it up and do that, and then save it. Make sure you save it and save it under your business name. Just pick a business name. You don't have to be particularly creative. It can be Joe's Pet Shop or whatever. It's fine. We're not giving points for creativity in this particular project. So once you get it open, maybe, come on, there we go. This is what the first page looks like, and this is all I want to go over today. Okay. Some of you are in entrepreneurship too at the same time, and the forms are the same. Now, the level of rigor and the level of research and those things that I expect on entrepreneurship are completely different than finance. So for those of you not in entrepreneurship, you can ignore that. But for the rest of you, that are in both, understand that there's a difference there. For all of us, what I want this to be is relatively simple. I'm not terribly concerned that we go out and do a lot of research, that we figure out that our numbers are exact and precise and those types of things. I just want you to understand the interaction between these statements that we're going to fill out. This is a new template that was created by SCORE, the Service Corps of Retired Executives. It's new for me. Okay, I used some different templates in the past. This tends to combine things and link things that heretofore I had students do, and so it's a big change, and it's doing a lot for us. That said, we may find a few quirky things in it, and I have in fact found at least one that we're going to have to change. But I also think that this is really going to work pretty cool. The bit that I've messed around with it automatically updates statements properly. When you input data into one statement, it automatically updates it where it should, kind of throughout all of these spreadsheets that we have here. And we're not necessarily going to do each of these. Sales forecast 1 to 3 years maybe. We'll take a look at this as we go along. Again, it's the first time for me, and yes, I've messed around and I understand the statements, but this will be the first time I've had a class, do it all the way through to completion. So, okay, so you guys have chosen a business. I've kind of gone through, most of you have anyhow. Several, I haven't heard from several, which I'll probably send out a little reminder email. And I screwed up to begin with, didn't give a good explanation of what kind of business to choose, but I got some resubmissions that were wonderful. Thank you for doing that, and I apologize for not being clear at the front end. I'm just going to kind of walk you through this and choose a business myself that I'm going to do. There are going to be a couple things that are requirements that I'm going to want everybody to do. One is going to be having a loan, so that we have a loan amortization and we have interest expense, and also at least 1 or 2 items that you would have that would require depreciation. Okay, and so I'm gonna do a dog walking and pooper scooping business. So I'm going to call okay. This is, the sheet's protected, and you might have to come, for some of the things that we're going to enter, we might have to unprotect it. And the password that it gives you, okay, I went to review and then unprotect sheet, and it tells you actually in the directions what you need to do if you're going to unprotect it. So if you forget what I'm doing here, I think you can come to the directions, but I think the password is just 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now that I think might just unprotect this sheet if I'm not mistaken. And so if I come down to another sheet, I might have to unprotect it as well. Okay, I'm not sure. We'll have to figure out that as we go along. But now I want to put in my business name. I'm going to just call mine Pooper's Scoop. How's that? Heck of a name for a dog walking and pooper scooping business. Okay, for my business, I'm not going to need any land or buildings. Okay, some of you may. We separate that out. For example, if you're paying $100,000 for a building on real estate, you might say that the land is worth $10,000 and the building's worth $90,000. You got to make a division like that. Okay. Generally, most folks would try to push the value of the building more than the land because the building's depreciable, which allows you to save some on taxes. Generally speaking. Okay, make a division, though. I'm not going to argue with you about what level it is. You know, in some cases, your land may be worth 50% of the purchase if you're doing a land and buildings. Okay, I'm not. Okay, I'm also not going to have to do any leasehold improvements. Many of you will. Okay, you're maybe going to be leasing a spot for your retail store or your coffee shop. And you're going to have to do some improvements there. The landlord may not, okay? And so you're just going to have to make an estimate of what those improvements might be, you know, and plug it in. You know, maybe it's 10 grand, for example. I'm just going to input that. I'll delete that later, okay? And you can see it kind of changes color and shows me that I've done that. But in my case, I'm not going to need to do any leasehold improvements because I don't need a location, right, necessarily for my dog walking and pooper scooping business. I'll be traveling and going to those places. So equipment, I'm going to need some equipment. You know, I may need a couple of portable dog kennels, you know, things like that. If I have to go pick up some critters and take them from the middle of town, say to the edge of town where I'm going to walk them or do some things like that, I may want to have a few leashes. I'm going to need some equipment and whatnot, maybe for the pooper scooping, you know, little long-handled thingamajiggers to pick up the poop and whatnot. It's not going to be a lot, right? My guess is, you know, for $500, and that's all you guys need to do. Okay, for this project, again, making some kind of rough guesses is going to be just fine. Okay, furniture and fixtures. Gosh, am I going to need furniture and fixtures? I probably won't for mine. Okay, I just can't think that I'm going to need furnitures and fixtures. You guys that are retail coffee shops, and a few of you have chosen some retail things, you're definitely going to have some furniture and fixtures. You know, fixtures would be the things that you would hang your inventory on in a retail spot. Fixtures might be same thing in a coffee shop or something. Whatever it is you might need. You know, to display things, display your coffee, whatever the case may be. Okay, again, just a good estimate. Now, I'm going to need a vehicle for mine because I may have to go drive around to the places. For a lot of you in your businesses, this may be the one, you know, large piece of equipment or whatnot that we actually have. And so I'm going to estimate that I'm going to buy just a good used pickup. I'm going to spend 10 grand on it. And there we go. Other, I don't think I really need any other. Down here, I'm going to have some stuff. Okay. Pre-opening salaries and wages, I shouldn't need any. Some of you may. Again, if you have a retail outlet or something, you know, you may have a month ahead of time where you have to go in and do some of the remodeling yourself, cleaning, fixing, whatever the case may be, setting up the fixtures, getting the inventory in, those types of things. You may have to pay somebody. Not for yourself, okay, at this point in time. This would be what you would pay somebody else, okay? I wouldn't have any. Prepaid insurance premiums, I'm probably going to have to get some insurance. You know, if I'm out walking somebody's dog and the dog gets hit or something, or runs away, right, I may need some insurance to cover that. I can't imagine it's going to be real pricey. I'm going to say $600. I picked $600 just because when it puts it out over the months, that's a nice round number. Okay. Inventory, I won't need any inventory. Legal and accounting fees, I might have set up a bit of an accounting system and whatnot. I'm just going to be a sole proprietor Okay, if you guys are going to choose an LLC or a corporate form or something like that, you probably better plan on spending a little bit more money. Okay, I'm going to get QuickBooks, and I may talk to an accountant to make sure I do things correctly. I'm going to estimate that that's going to cost me $250. Rent deposits. A lot of you will have a rent deposit. Okay, if you are in fact renting a location, right, you're going to have a deposit that you have to put down. And so a lot of you that are renting or leasing a location, make sure you put a deposit in there. Usually a deposit is perhaps 1 month's rent or a half of 1 month's rent, something along those lines. So you can make a good guess. Utility deposits, again, if you're going someplace where you're going to be hooked into city water, sewer, whether you're leasing or not, there's a good chance you might have to put up a utility deposit. And the same would be true possibly for your heat and lights. Okay, Northwestern or Hill County Electric may require some kind of a deposit there, and they'd hold that for your account until you terminated your service. Really, might be $500, something in that neighborhood. It's probably going to depend on the size and type of location that you would have and the types of heat and utilities that you would be using. Supplies. I'm definitely going to need supplies, right? I'm going to need some garbage sacks, and I'm going to need gloves, nitrile gloves or whatever, exam type of gloves for if I'm pooper scooping and doing those types of things. And so I'm going to need a little bit, not a bunch, but I'm probably going to need, I'm going to guess a couple $100 worth to get started. Advertising and promotions. This is ahead of time. I might make up some cards and some brochures and a few other things like that. I can go to zip printers or whatever the heck it is online. I could go and figure out what that's going to be. I don't think I'm going to need to spend a lot. I can hang up a few posters around the place and whatnot, but I might spend a couple $100. Okay. Licenses, I won't need any. Most of you will not either for the types of businesses that you've chosen. If I can think of some of you that might, if you're going to be a hairbender, for example, you would need a license for that. If you were going to be an appraiser, there's certain fields where you actually would have to get a license. Certain communities too might require that. Havre doesn't have a licensing for general businesses. Other initial startup, I don't know. Working capital, okay, we all have to have some working capital. And the working capital is just money that you need to have in your account when you start your business. Usually the SBA says that it ought to maybe equal up to 6 months of your operating expenses. Well, I don't know what my operating expenses are going to be. Okay. Yeah, it says existing businesses should use the calculator at the bottom of this page to determine the working capital amount. But we're not an existing business, right? We're a new business, and so I'm just gonna 6 months. My operating expenses aren't going to be very high, right? I'm going to need some gas and fuel. I'm purely a service business. I'm going to have a few supplies on an ongoing basis, but mostly it's going to be gas, fuel, mileage, those types of things. Let's say I start out with $1,000. Okay, I'm done with the top part. $12,750 is what I'm going to invest into my business to get started, the biggest part of which is the vehicle. Okay, so now I have to come down here, and if you read this, it's red. For one thing, okay, red's bad. That means that I'm not balanced. It says you require more funding, not balanced. Okay, what we want to do is get this to turn, I think, green, and it'll say you are balanced, and that's a wonderful thing. Okay, for me, what's that mean? Well, I'm probably going to have one loan and one loan only, and I'm going to borrow the money to purchase my vehicle, and my vehicle purchase price is 10 grand. I'm probably going to have to put some down. Okay, so I'm going to come down here to the vehicle loan. I'm probably going to have to put down 20%, right, cash, and so I can borrow $8,000. So $8,000 is what I want to enter in here. Okay, it estimates my loan rate at 6%. Actually, that's not too bad. I can certainly change this if I think that my rate would be more, and it might be 6.5. I'm just going to change it to 6.5. Okay, Look at that, it calculates my monthly payment for me. It tells me that I'm going to have it over 48 months. If I were to purchase a more expensive vehicle, a newer vehicle, I might be able to do this out for 60 months or even 72 months. So I might have to change that depending on, okay? And so, feel free to come in and change these things if need be, okay? Now, this gets really simple here, okay? To finish my first deal, my starting point, okay, it says here, you require more funding. I'm not balanced, and I'm minus $4,750. So I need to somehow come up with $4,750. Guess what? That's how much I'm going to invest myself. So I'm just going to put $4,750 in up there, and I am fully balanced. It did turn green. I've got nothing in this slot. Okay, so I'm a happy camper, and I have finished this first section. But one more thing that we want to do today. Okay, I think it's in this additional inputs. Yeah, it tends to, what it does is we've got some amortization of where's it at? It doesn't show it on here, but it does say amortization of startup costs, and it says 3 years. and I don't like the 3 years, okay, because my startup costs are here. They're relatively small, and what it is it's amortizing some of these, okay. So my insurance, my legal and accounting, my supplies, my advertising and promotion, and my working cash, and I think it might do all of those, but my working cash. And when I come to my operating expenses, here it is. Where is it? Oh, is that included? No. I thought that would be included there in my depreciation or amortization, but it's not. Where did I see that? I'm sorry. Hang on, I'm going to pause for a second because, and maybe I didn't put stuff in that would do it in this particular case. So I'm going to pause for a second. Hang on. Okay, here's where it shows up. It shows up on my overall income statement. When I get over here, income statement, it's 7A, income statement year one. You see, it shows these amortized startup expenses at $35 a month and $417. And if you take that times 3, because it said 3 years back here on this additional inputs, it's $1,250. So it's taking $1,250, right? It's taking these expenses up here, and it's saying that it's going to amortize, or really it's the same as depreciate, but it's going to take those costs and depreciate them or amortize them out over 3 years. My insurance, though, I'm going to have to pay again at the end of next year, and I really don't want to amortize out my legal and accounting or these other expenses over a full period of 3 years. Okay, I want to just do 1 year. I want to get rid of those expenses, if you want to call it that, get rid of them, at least from a taxable basis, in 1 year. And so I'm going to change this amortization period when I come down here to this additional inputs, okay, and it's at the very bottom, the last thing anyhow on that particular spreadsheet, okay. I want to change that to 1. Let me see. Yep, and it won't let me do that because I have to unprotect this sheet as well. So again, same process. I hit review, I hit unprotect sheet, I type in 1, 2, 3, 4, hit OK, and now I should be able to change this to 1. Okay. Hit enter. If I go back to now this 7A, this income statement, you'll see it's taking that full $1,250 and it's amortizing that over just the 1 year. Okay. That's just one kind of little quirky thing that I saw on this particular sheet. So there it is, 20 minutes worth, and you really shouldn't take much more than that putting it together for yours. I do want you to be thoughtful. I don't need you to do a ton of research on figuring out what your expenses and those types of things are, but please be thoughtful about it. And if you have some questions, should I have a pre-opening salaries or I skipped over this, inventory. A lot of you, for example, the coffee shops and any retail places are going to have inventory, right? Again, be thoughtful about it. Okay, kind of, I'm going to need a couple $100 worth of coffee, and I'm going to have some mugs, and I'm going to have some this and that, and you can make some little notes over here to yourself if you wanted to, or to me, that's fine. So be thoughtful about it and put in numbers that seem to kind of make sense, but you don't need to do a ton of research on it, and that's fine. Okay, make sure you save it. I'm going to save mine to my business finance. Oops, I haven't started. I need to get a new folder. Sorry. And there it is. Okay. And make sure you save it, because we're going to keep adding to it. We're going to go through then some of these others as we go along. And then the project one's going to be when we finish most of these. I don't think we'll do all of these statements for project one. In entrepreneurship, we certainly will, but for this we will not, probably. So mess around with the other ones if you want. Don't get too excited and don't start changing too many things. You'll know, we're showing a net loss here, right? Well, because we haven't projected any income yet. Okay, so it's great to come and look at it, but I wouldn't get excited about changing some of these down here, your cash flows or any of those things, because a lot of those are going to fill in when we do sales forecasts and when we do our operating expenses and those types of things. So, okay, feel free to go around, look at these, but again, don't get ahead of us and change too many things. Or if you get in and change things, make sure you just save that to a different folder, and you can mess around. Keep the original that you'll be using in class. Submit the whole thing. You don't have to separate out the worksheets. This is going to be an ongoing process, and you're just going to be adding to it. So submit the whole thing, and I have created a Dropbox now for the starting point is what I called this one. So your business ideas were here, and I moved this up, and there's some other garbage down here you can kind of ignore for now, but I've created a new Dropbox that's called Starting Point. So just go ahead and submit that here. By the way, the grade thing's all kind of goofed up now, because as I add new Dropboxes, I'll be creating different grade things, and I'll have to go back and eliminate some of the grade deals that are in the grade books. So there you have it. 20 minutes, get you started, and get those submitted. Okay, I'd like to see those by the end of the week. Thanks, and we'll talk to you next week as we go along and probably make some projections.